The next person I'd like to introduce is Sandy Phillips. Her 24-year-old daughter Jessica was killed in 2012 in Aurora Cinemark Theater massacre in Colorado, in which 11 others were killed and 58 wounded. The alleged killer, James Holmes, had been identified as dangerous by his mental health professional after he told her he wanted to kill people, but there was no Colorado law that allowed police to act on this information. Since then, Ms. Phillips has joined the Brady Campaign to prevent gun violence as a campaign manager. I can't tell you how grateful I am that she and her husband took the time to come here today and reopen these obviously difficult wounds. I also want to say how gracious she is, because I asked her if I could identify that not only would this have possibly prevented her daughter's death, but it could also have prevented James Holmes from spending the rest of his life in jail because of committing a murder. So she has obviously that clear understanding. So with that, I'd like to introduce her.
I'd like to ask my husband to come up as well. This is Lonnie Phillips, my husband. We also want to introduce you to our daughter, Jessica Redfield Gowie. This is my lovely daughter. She was 24 years old when she simply took her best friend visiting from Texas to see a movie. He was a big Batman fan. She was not. We were texting each other moments before the shooting began. When the gunman came into the theater, a lot of people thought it was a joke. They didn't realize that they were in mortal danger. When he began firing, Jessie was initially hit in the right leg and fell to the floor, calling out that she had been hit. Brent, who was with her and is very much like a son to us, immediately went into his paramedic training and applied pressure to her wound. All the while she was yelling out, "Somebody call 911, somebody call 911. He feels that she was more concerned about other people in the theater than she was for her own safety, but we won't know that. Brent, at some point while he was applying pressure to her wound, was also wounded. He realized that she had become quiet, and he looked back over his shoulder and saw that she had been hit in the head by a .223 and her brains had been blown out. What he didn't know at the time is she had also been hit 4 other times. So she had received 6 wounds by a .223 bullet fired from an AR-15. These bullets had a steel rod in them to do the most damage and to go through as many seats, other people, walls, and he had a 100-round magazine with him. He had been able, even though he was seeing a psychologist, he had been able to purchase his gun legally and 6,000 rounds of ammunition over the internet. That's terrifying to know that that can happen every day in America. That's why we got involved with Brady. We want to make a difference, and we want to end gun violence. This is a step, thanks to Mr. Barbieri. What you cannot possibly imagine happening in your life is now our daily life. We wake up daily with the memory of how she died. We go to bed each day saddened that 90 more Americans are gone and have the same realization each morning and each night that we do. In this debate, we need to learn to listen to one another with open hearts and open minds. In the short time that we've been involved with this mission, we have found that we are often the ones that are doing the listening and the cooperation and giving the cooperation, where others are trying to find every way to block that needs to end. And this is a start. Cooperation between the NRA and bipartisan politics is moving forward. And I'm very glad to hear it, and I thank you for your hard work. Many would say that the killer in Aurora was mentally ill, but that is still for the justice system to decide. But we do know that he had become a danger to society and to himself long before he took action. And yet he was still able to purchase those weapons and those rounds without a background check or a red flag being raised. What we do know that most of the mentally ill are not violent. Most of them don't have suicidal thoughts or thoughts of killing others. But when they do cross over, we need to be able to step in and stop them from hurting or killing anyone, including themselves. That's why the Brady Bill has chosen to support this important measure. This bill will undoubtedly save lives that we may never know have been saved. It's too late for those of us who have lost loved ones to the violent acts of others, but it is not too late to put the end to these tragedies. And I thank everyone here that has done such a great work to make sure that this bill goes on and passes. And thank you, Josh.